Please welcome Amazon Web Services Vice President, AI Products, Matt Wood.
Good morning, everybody here in New York City, and hello to everybody joining us on our live stream, and welcome to the AWS Summit, New York City. It's fantastic to see you all here. We've got an amazing day, an amazing show, sprinkled with awesome innovation and with so much learning and networking to take place. Thank you. This always seems to get left to the end, but I know you have a million emails in your inbox, and you could have been anywhere else in the world today, but you're here with us. And myself and the rest of the team, we really, really appreciate it. Now, we've got a lot to get through today, so I'm going to jump right in and talk about what is top of mind, the only thing to talk about, what I'm going to touch on pretty expansively today, generative AI. Generative AI is probably the single largest shift in how we're going to interact with data and information and each other, probably since the advent of the very earliest internet. And organizations that invested in that early internet, including Amazon.com, have gone on to experience pretty remarkable growth over the past 30 years. And it's my estimation that customers that are investing in generative AI today are going to experience multiple Amazons of growth in the next 30 years. And it has never been a more exciting time to be a technologist and to be a builder. I have never seen such enthusiasm and energy and investment from customers probably since the earliest days of cloud computing itself. And as a result, we have hundreds of thousands of customers today that are running their AI and machine learning workloads on AWS. And Bedrock, our service for building generative AI applications, is one of the fastest growing AWS services of the last decade. That is really saying something. And as a result, across all of AWS, machine learning and artificial intelligence is now a multi-billion-dollar annual run rate business for AWS. It is growing remarkably quickly. And it has been extremely invigorating to see such extraordinary growth in generative AI usage in enterprises, as well as super successful startups. Fast-moving startups that are driving tremendous amounts of innovation. Today, the vast majority, nearly all of these startups run on AWS. 96% of all AI ML unicorns run on AWS. And if you take a look at the Forbes AI 50, which is an amazing list, by the way, 90% of those organizations run on AWS as well. And this growth is happening in virtually every industry. Some of the ones that you would expect, software and internet companies, that are making it easier for their customers to be able to use their data and build applications. But extraordinary new startups like Evolutionary Scale that are making it easy to generate brand new proteins and antibodies. Organizations like Slack that are embedding generative AI, where all of our teams spend most of their days during the working day. And Thomson Reuters, who are consistently adding information to their vast resources of knowledge to make it easier to use and more useful to everybody. But what is at least a little counterintuitive to me, if you'd have asked me maybe 18 months ago, is that we are seeing a group of customers that are moving slightly faster than the average. And these are the customers in regulated industries. Regulated industries like financial services with the New York Stock Exchange, insurance companies like Sun Life, life science companies like Pfizer, and even in the public sector in the healthcare space with the District of Columbia Department of Health. And the reason why these customers are able to move so quickly in their generative AI journey is because they've been able to meet the compliance of these regulations over the last 20 years or so. And that regulatory compliance has actually driven all the right behaviors to be able to use generative AI. They have a really robust data strategy. They understand the quality of their data. They understand the governance of their data. What data can be used, by whom, in which service, and for what purpose. And because these organizations have got a lot of that figured out, the incremental lift to use generative AI is very, very small, and they can move much more quickly as a result. So it's an incredibly exciting time in every single industry, in every single startup organization, enterprise organization, and across the public sector. So why are so many of these customers choosing AWS for generative AI? Well, there are many reasons, but I wanted to run through some of the really big ones that we hear from customers most often. The first is that on AWS, customers in every industry are able to meet and exceed the security requirements for generative AI and their data. There is a schism in some customers' minds that in order to be successful with generative AI, you have to make some sort of negative trade-off when it comes to the confidentiality, privacy, and security of your data. And honestly, I can kind of understand where that comes from, but it's just not the case on AWS. We don't use any of the data that moves through our paid AI services to improve the underlying models. We don't have humans reviewing any of that information. And you can control where the data lies inside your VPC and the flow of all that information within the network. So it's just a completely different approach where we have baked in security from day one into all of our generative AI applications. And it's really interesting to see that you can often see the culture and execution stance of different cloud providers emerging in how they approach generative AI. There is no higher priority for AWS than security. We will stop all work to focus on security, and we build security in from day one. You don't usually build a secure service by taking an insecure service and bolting security on later. You have to build it in at the foundations. And so customers told us really early that they wanted nothing more, and honestly nothing less, than the security capabilities that they're used to across the rest of the AWS platform, and that's what we've delivered with our AI services. The next is that we have by far the broadest set of AI capabilities. And we think of this in 3 different buckets that form a generative AI stack. At the lowest level of the generative AI stack, we have a set of foundational infrastructure capabilities for building, training, tuning, and tinkering with foundation models. At the next layer of the stack, we make it really easy for anybody to be able to build applications using generative AI with a service that we make available called Amazon Bedrock. And at the top of the stack, we make applications which are uniquely enabled through generative AI available to everybody without you having to even know you're using generative AI under the hood. And here we make available an assistant called Amazon Q, which is available for businesses, for developers, and that we sprinkle throughout the AWS applications, making it easier to analyze data, to be able to manage your contact centers, supply chain, and so on and so forth. And what's really interesting is, as you see customers going through their generative AI journey, at a point of maturation, most organizations need capabilities from all 3 tiers. They need capabilities from all 3 layers in the stack. And as a result, you really need all 3 in order to be successful with generative AI. But of course, generative AI is a remarkably fast-moving environment. There are new techniques and approaches and models being released virtually every single day. And I am sure by the time that we finish this conversation today, there will be other techniques that have been announced during this time that are worthy of our attention. And so it's more important here than ever for customers to be able to keep up with these new inventions. Each new invention isn't just an incremental improvement in most cases. It's so early in this technology that each new innovation drives material advancement in where you can apply generative AI. And our approach is to be able to deliver new features at a remarkably fast pace and at a very rapid clip. And so we've launched 326 generative AI features into general availability since 2023. This is a pretty high number. And whilst I don't want to throw too much shade, I did want to put this just into context relative to some other cloud providers. I don't know which companies these represent on the slide, of course. But if you add up the numbers, you can see that AWS has launched more than twice as many new capabilities for machine learning and generative AI into general availability than all of the other cloud providers combined. It doesn't even seem like a fair fight. Now, it's not just having the security and the broadest and deepest capabilities and the new features that are adding. Most customers rely on the data that is already on AWS in order to be successful with generative AI. And you would be surprised how many successful startups and enterprises are in the exabyte club on AWS. A huge number of customers have huge volumes of privately held data, which allows them to analyze that data. Maybe that's market research or clinical trial results or healthcare information. They're able to apply generative AI to understand and leverage that existing data in new and exciting ways. And that's a very low-risk, first starting point workload for most organizations, and the data is there, ready to go. And the 5th area that customers tell us they really value is our approach to sustainability and renewable energy investments. Now, we've been at this for a long time. We've been looking around the corner on behalf of customers, building out the infrastructure necessary to meet some pretty aggressive sustainability and renewable energy goals. In 2019, we set a goal to match all of the electricity used across the whole of Amazon's global operations. That's data centers for AWS, plus our corporate buildings, plus grocery stores and fulfillment centers, with 100% of renewable energy by 2030. And I am extremely proud to be able to announce today that we have completed that goal 7 years early. Today, we are matching all of the electricity used across the whole of Amazon, data centers, grocery stores, fulfillment centers, all of our corporate offices, with 100% renewable energy. And this is a meaningful investment in infrastructure that just doesn't spring up overnight. And we've been at this for a long time, over a decade. We have over 500 different renewable solar and wind sites across the world. They're in 27 different countries. And just from our offshore wind generation, we're generating over 1.7 gigawatts of power, about the equivalent overall to power 7.6 million average US homes. And in addition to all of that renewable, sustainable generation, Amazon is also the largest corporate buyer of renewable energy in the world, and we have been for 4 years running. So this is a remarkable investment that we make on behalf of our customers in order to be able to meet our own energy goals, but to be able to pass those sustainability benefits onto our customers in all of the businesses across Amazon. Really remarkable achievement, ahead of schedule. Now, it's my belief that generative AI in time will be woven into all of our applications. All of our processes, all of our use cases will feature generative AI in some way. And in the fullness of time, it'll just become vanilla. It'll just become the new normal. It'll be there in absolutely everything that we do, behind every button and every click. Sometimes you'll know you're interacting with a generative AI system, sometimes you won't. But we're not quite there yet. And in the time between now and getting to that future state, I think it's really important to be able to get on the same page together, to explore this topic together, to learn from each other what works and what doesn't work. And so whilst we have just an extraordinary amount of innovation happening across AWS, related to compute and infrastructure and networking and analytics and developer tools, today and in the foreseeable future, I suspect we're going to need to all lean in on generative AI and learn together. And that's what I hope we're able to do today. So generative AI, in addition to all of its benefits, one of the challenges is that it's a period of pretty remarkable discontinuous change. And in periods of discontinuous flux, it can be really challenging as an organization to know where to invest. Which technologies do you take on? Which technologies do you invest in? Which use cases do you sponsor? If you sponsor the wrong ones and you're a little too early, then you make the bet on the wrong one. And another technology might underpin it, and you get overtaken, you've wasted your investment. Or if you invest too late, you miss out on the opportunity of taking the advantage of all the learnings associated with something which is a bit more sustainable. But for my money, when customers ask, where should I focus? Given that there's so much change, my perspective is that the only place to focus is on what's not going to change. And so today I'm going to run through just a couple of trends that I've seen that I think are the best bet for sustainable, long-term advantage when it comes to making and building generative AI applications. So the first thing that I think is not going to change anytime soon, even though I don't have a crystal ball, is the foundation for AI is in the cloud. At the heart of the matter are two main types of workloads: training models and running inference or predictions using those models. So training creates and tunes foundation models by learning patterns from very large amounts of example data. And inference then uses those models to generate outputs such as text or images or video. And in order to be able to deliver these models, you need a large amount of data, you need a large amount of infrastructure necessary to be able to train them at the sort of scale where these remarkable emergent capabilities start to appear inside the model, such as they represent some sort of level of intelligence. They approximate reasoning. And the vast majority of the successful models out there are enabled by foundational infrastructure innovations on AWS. And most of the large models that you may have heard of and most of you probably use, such as the ones from Anthropic and Mistral AI, all the work that's going on in the community on Hugging Face, Stability AI, Falcon models at 160 billion parameters, the vast majority of these models are either being trained on AWS today or are moving their mission-critical workloads for training to AWS as quickly as possible. Because we've been investing in the foundations for many years, and we've got everything that customers need to train these remarkable models. So we have the latest generation of NVIDIA GPUs. We're able to provision those in very, very large clusters, tens of thousands at a time. And we make it really easy for customers to provision the capacity that they need ahead of time using a hotel reservation-like system, where you can say, I need 10,000 GPUs this time on Tuesday, and I'm going to need them for a couple of days while I run my training job. We'll make them available at that time. You can run your training. We'll decommission them, pass the capacity on to another customer, and you stop paying for it as you go. But it's not enough just to have the compute. You also need to be able to access the data that is training these models with very, very low latency. And almost all customers are using FSx in order to be able to deliver this. And they move that data over EFA networking and secure the whole thing using our Nitro enclaves, meaning that the resources that you're pouring into training or tuning these new neural networks becomes a meaningful asset for your organization that you're able to protect from a security perspective. And AWS is the best place to run NVIDIA GPUs. NVIDIA are a small startup out of San Jose that some of you may be familiar with. We've got a long relationship with NVIDIA. We've been working with them for nearly 2 decades. We've been the first cloud provider to bring every generation of NVIDIA GPUs to customers, and we're going to continue to do so as we introduce the new Blackwell platform in the next couple of months. AWS has been the best place to run these, so much so because we have everything that you need in terms of storage and networking and operations and software, that NVIDIA themselves run their own internal R&D training on AWS with a supercomputer that we built with them called Seba. Seba is a beast. It is 414 exaflops of compute power running across 20,736 GB200s, and we linked all of those together using EFA networking. This is one of the largest supercomputers that NVIDIA use to train their own AI models, as well as run all their robotics work and all their full Earth simulations, all of that running on AWS. Now, one thing that's been clear as we've been building AWS for the last couple of decades is that optionality for compute really matters. It's why we have so many different instance types that you can choose from, with different mixtures of accelerators and CPUs and memory and storage and so on and so forth. Having access to different options allows you to find the best fit for your needs. And because of that, we've been investing in our own chips for years, including general purpose processors like Graviton, but also custom-built accelerators for machine learning and AI. We have 2 chips, one specifically built for inference that we call Inferentia, and one which is specifically built to accelerate the inner loop of machine learning and AI training that we call Trainium. We're on our 2nd generation for both of these. Inf2 is up to 4 times higher throughput and 10 times lower latency compared to the 1st generation. And TRN2, the instances that house our Trainium 2 chips, have the best price performance for machine learning training on AWS. They're designed to scale up to 100,000 Trainium 2 chips using next generation of EC2 Ultra clusters, and customers can train very meaningful, large, multi-hundred billion parameter LLMs in weeks versus months. This delivers the highest scale-out machine learning training performance at significantly lower costs. They're really remarkable. And in addition to providing the best performance per dollar, they also provide increasing performance per watt. So generation over generation, Trainium 2 compared to Trainium 1 offers twice the power efficiency for model training. And for inference, Inferentia 2 is up to 50% more energy efficient for deep learning inference compared to other EC2 instances. And so we're able to not just drive down the cost of training, but also allow training to operate even more efficiently in addition to our sustainability goals. So it's not just having access to the chips and the accelerators and all the infrastructure alongside it. You also need services that allow you to harness your data and operationalize all this infrastructure. And in 2017, we launched Amazon SageMaker, which is the easiest way to be able to build, train, tune, and deploy machine learning and AI models. Customers absolutely love SageMaker. It's extremely easy to use and has all the capabilities that you need for any developer, any builder, to be successful with generative AI. And it's meant that most customers have standardized on SageMaker for their machine learning and data science workloads. And there's more machine learning happening on SageMaker than ever before because of the rise in popularity of generative AI. Generative AI is very interesting because it's also relatively easy to use. It has a much lower bar for the level of experience and machine learning science knowledge to be able to be successful with it than ever before. And it means that more and more people are flocking to SageMaker. And the way they do that is through SageMaker Studio. SageMaker Studio is an IDE for your data and for your machine learning workloads. And it's the place that the majority of models get built in most organizations. And because machine learning has such a large opportunity, because the technology is becoming more accessible, we're seeing more and more new users come into SageMaker Studio virtually every single day. And we want to make it even easier for customers to be successful using SageMaker. And so today, I'm delighted to announce that we're bringing Amazon Q to the SageMaker Studio. This allows customers to build machine learning models using natural language. It offers tailored, step-by-step recommendations inside your SageMaker Studio notebooks. And when used in SageMaker Studio, Q assists data scientists with all of the tasks that they need in order to be successful in building, training, and deploying machine learning workloads. For example, Q sits right alongside your notebook, which is the place that most machine learning and data science work happens, and you can interact and chit-chat and ask Q questions as you're doing your work. And Q will pipe up and help give you guidance on the types of things that you want to be able to build. So you could ask Q to help create a plan on how to train a model for something like churn prediction. It also gives you real-time, context-aware inline code suggestions, ranging from full functions to comments associated with the code that you're working on and the models that you're building. And finally, if you encounter an error, then Q is there to help troubleshoot and find root cause problem remediation completely automatically. So this is a step function change in the ease of use for many organizations to be able to get started or accelerate their machine learning workloads. Now, the second trend that we've noticed is that customers want to be able to mix and match their models to their mission. There is a little bit of a fallacy out there that there is going to be a single model that is all-knowing and all-powerful. But that just doesn't seem to be playing out. In fact, it looks like there is no one model to rule them all. When I talk to customers, and I've been lucky enough to talk to several hundred over the last 18 months or so, you see that they have lots and lots of ideas about where they want to apply machine learning and AI inside their organization. And some of them are very generous. They send me their spreadsheets of all their ideas, and they have hundreds and hundreds of rows of all of the things that they want to do, hundreds and hundreds. It's really remarkable. And it seems intuitive to me that it would be impossible to address all of these, or even a small number, with a small number of existing models, because there is no one model that is the best fit for everything. Instead, what you want is to be able to have access to a very broad set of models, a broad selection of models, where you have the choice to be able to pick the right model for your use case, and to be able to mix and match the models such as you find the best fit which fits your use case. So some of these models are good at different things. Sometimes they're really good at summarization and natural language tasks. Others are really good at reasoning or code generation. And others just have different operational characteristics. Sometimes they're really, really fast. Other times they're really, really intelligent. Other times they're just really, 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 really low cost. And depending on your use case, you want to be able to lean into the advantage of each of these different models, such as it fits your use case. And then you're able to cover a much broader set of use cases inside your organization and drive innovation as a result much more quickly and much more ubiquitously. And it's this insight that led us to follow a slightly different strategy to some others when we were building Amazon Bedrock, which is the fastest and easiest way to build generative AI applications. We don't just make available a small number of models, we make available by far the widest selection of models available anywhere. Models from folks like AI21 Labs, models that we train inside Amazon, models from our friends at Anthropic, Cohere, open weights models from Meta, Mistral AI models, Stability AI models, the list goes on and on. And because you have access to all of these different models, each one with a slightly different sweet spot, you're able to precisely match the use case with that sweet spot and lean into the advantage. If you need a model to be really, really fast, you'll find it on Bedrock. If you need a model to be really, really capable and intelligent, you'll find it on Bedrock. If you need a model to be really, really low cost, because you're going to run it millions of times a day, you're going to find that on Bedrock. And it's only Bedrock that you can make that decision, and you can find all those models. And beyond that, as more and more organizations are training and tuning these foundation models as a starting point, what we've been able to do is allow customers to be able to import their custom models based on these common architectures directly into Bedrock. So you can tune these models yourselves and just import them into Bedrock and get all the benefits of Bedrock as you go and combine them with other models as you go as well. And a really common way to customize these models is through an approach called fine-tuning. And fine-tuning is a way of effectively programming the models themselves, not by adding logic and code to their models, but by programming them through example. You can set a couple of examples, a couple dozen examples, a couple hundred examples, and provide those to the model and adjust the behavior of the model in really, really precise ways. And this is useful when you want to customize the model for specific needs. So let's say you're a healthcare organization and you want to understand medical terminology and provide accurate responses related to patient health. Fine-tuning is a really good way of doing that. Or you want to customize for task performance. Let's say you have a customer service application. You want to improve the way chatbots interact with internal apps like ordering history. Fine-tuning is a really good way to do that. Or you want to be able to customize the domains and formats of the model. So if you're in a finance organization, you can teach the model to write like an analyst, styling your responses for better analysis and reports. And customers really, really value this ability to be able to fine-tune their models. They love these base foundation models, but they're called foundation models for a reason. They are designed in many cases to be built on top of. And many of the more advanced, cutting-edge frontier models, you want to be able to take all of their knowledge and you want to be able to closely align their behavior to your needs. And that hasn't always been possible until now. And so today, for the first time anywhere, I'm very proud to announce that we're adding fine-tuning to Anthropic's Claude 3 models. We're starting with Haiku. This enables customers to be able to use their data with some of the world's best performing foundation models and fine-tune them inside Amazon Bedrock. This results in a more custom and tailored behavior in areas which are crucial to your business compared to using just standard world models. This all happens while preserving the impeccable speed, accuracy, and affordability that models like Claude 3 Haiku is known for. And this is the first time that Anthropic's Claude 3 models have been made available for fine-tuning, and it's only available on AWS. We've got more Claude fine-tuning capabilities coming soon. This is super, super easy to use. You don't even need any machine learning experience. You just set up a fine-tuning job using your own data with just a few quick steps. You can control the privacy for the fine-tuning job by bringing your own encryption keys, and you can customize all of the fine-tuning settings through optional hyperparameters. And this has been possible because of the relationship and close partnership that AWS has had with Anthropic. And so to tell us more, please join me in welcoming President and co-founder of Anthropic, Daniela and Brad. Welcome.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks. Daniela, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Congratulations on all the success of Anthropic so far. I wonder if you could tell us what inspired the creation of Anthropic and how is Claude helping businesses today?
Well, Matt, thank you so much for having me here today. Anthropic was founded 3 years ago with the goal of building trustworthy and reliable AI with safety at its center. Our foundation model, Claude, excels in areas like coding, customer support, content creation, financial analysis, and complex reasoning. Earlier this year, we launched our Claude 3 model family. These 3 models balance speed, price, and intelligence. Claude 3 Haiku is the fastest and most cost-effective model available on the market today. Claude 3 Opus is designed for completing highly complex tasks. And most recently, we released Claude 3.5 Sonnet, the most capable model on the market today, which we'll discuss a little later. Digital native businesses like DoorDash and Salesforce, healthcare companies like Pfizer and the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, as well as financial firms like Bridgewater and Intuit, along with thousands of other businesses across industries, rely on Claude to power some of their most critical applications and workflows.
That's amazing. So what makes Anthropic so special?
Our mission is to help people feel more at ease with AI and the trajectory of this evolving technology. Anthropic is innovating at a pace unlike any other AI company in the world. We upgraded from Claude 3 to Claude 3.5 models in just 3 months' time, each time claiming the spot of the most capable model available in the world. We're building products that are enterprise-grade, accurate, trustworthy, and reliable, with best-in-industry safeguards, all in partnership with AWS's secure private infrastructure. Our goal is to use AI to expand what is humanly possible. We're excited to help lead the AI revolution with responsibility and integrity.
So we just announced fine-tuning. Tell us a bit more about it.
We announced the Amazon Anthropic Partnership last year, which enables companies like all of you in the room to deploy our frontier models and manage their data within a single, secure cloud environment. It facilitates the secure integration of Anthropic's models with customers' proprietary data, crucial for integrating Claude into your business. We're also excited that as of today, fine-tuning for Claude 3 Haiku, our fastest, most cost-effective model, is now available in preview on Amazon Bedrock. Fine-tuning is one of our most highly requested features and allows you to customize AI with your company data in a secure, private environment. This is a game changer for businesses, since fine-tuning Claude 3 Haiku significantly improves performance on specialized tasks and allows you to encode your proprietary data into your generative AI use cases. Companies like SK Telecom and Thomson Reuters have seen significant improvements with fine-tuning, seeing up to 40% improvement in task performance and accuracy.
So we added the new Claude 3.5 models to Bedrock just a few weeks ago. Customers are loving it. So can you tell us a little bit more about it?
That's right. So just a few weeks ago, we launched Claude 3.5 Sonnet. This is our latest model. Claude 3.5 Sonnet is built for the enterprise and raises the bar for AI intelligence. It outperforms competitor models like GPT-4o and Gemini Pro, as you mentioned earlier. Thousands of customers are already using Claude 3.5 Sonnet in Bedrock across tasks like nuanced customer support, multi-step financial analysis, processing data and news, writing code, developing content, and much more.
I mean, congratulations. It's a remarkable achievement. Looking ahead, what can we all expect from Anthropic?
This is an incredible moment for companies to really lean into trusted and secure AI with Anthropic and AWS. At Anthropic, we are consistently pushing the boundaries of AI capabilities. And we're really fast. Every few months, we are shipping frontier models while balancing what our enterprise customers care most about: speed, intelligence, and cost. We're building AI for the enterprise, consistently rolling out products that help businesses do more with trusted AI. Features like tool use allow you to enable Claude to select and utilize APIs to accomplish a specific task. Features like artifacts and projects have made it easy for our customers to collaborate and co-create with Claude. And with today's fine-tuning on Bedrock, we can't wait to see how you customize Claude for your specific needs. We're excited to partner with all of you here today and those tuning in to safely and securely bring AI into your business.
Daniela, we really appreciate all the partnership, all the hard work. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Matt.
Appreciate it. Thank you. So in addition to having the broadest selection of models, in addition to having the very best performing models by speed, intelligence, and cost, what we've seen from customers is that it's insufficient just to have that choice. You also want to be able to have really automated, fast ways of finding the right model and matching it to your use case. And it's why inside Amazon Bedrock, we have a multitude of model evaluation features. that allow you to quickly evaluate and compare models' abilities to perform a specific task. You can do this in highly automated ways, just upload your prompts, and we build you a dashboard of how the different models perform relative to those prompts. You can choose pre-programmed benchmarks, or you can use full subjective or objective human reviews, usually done towards the end of the process, in order to be able to find the right use case and evaluate how your models are performing. So for any isolated use case, being able to lean into the advantages of the model and combine them with finding the right model using model evaluation provides you the shortest path to find the best model for the job. But the superpower of generative AI is in combining capabilities. Combining models and other capabilities inside your generative AI applications, building multimodal and multi-model applications is the superpower of generative AI. These aren't additive to the aggregate intelligence of your system, they are compounding. It is a multiplier to combine these different modalities and these different capabilities. And if you look at the data, the vast majority of customers, 97% in this survey of a couple of dozen of large enterprises that were spending multiple millions on generative AI every year, the vast majority are using not just multiple models, but are able to combine and build intelligent systems by pooling models from multiple developers all together. So this compounding multiplier of intelligence is only available when you have this broad model selection. And so multiple models is super important, not just in isolation, but it's incredibly powerful in combination, and it's a big part of why customers are migrating and running on Bedrock as quickly as possible. And it's not just combining models that gives you this compounding multiplier effect on the capabilities of your artificial intelligence systems. At their very best, generative AI applications, whether they are conversational assistants or agents or asynchronous tasks or document management systems, whatever they might be, they tend to become greater than the sum of their parts. And pulling together individual models and combining them and then adding in your own safeguards and your own data is the path to delivering truly differentiated, high-value experiences through generative AI. So models are obviously super important to your applications, and they're going to continue to be important. But they're just one component necessary for success, especially as you move into production systems, either internally, or you've got a system you're really proud of that you want to put in front of clients and that you're going to put your company name behind. And so we have a very, very broad amount of information inside these world models. They've been trained often on the public internet, and they've got a very, very broad amount of information. However, that information is usually pretty shallow relative to the depth of information that most organizations deal with day to day. And when you get down into depth in these world models, they can turn a little bit into Swiss cheese. They have areas of information density, and they have areas of information sparsity. And where you have that information density, the models have the context, the models do really, really well. But obviously, they've never seen a large amount of information that is held privately inside your organization. And that information is obviously the most differentiated and highly valued for yourself and your clients. And it's those times when you end up in one of these Swiss cheese holes. And the models at that point start to try and pull from context that they don't have. And it's at that point that you start to experience mistakes and what are called hallucinations, where the models that we've trained to be chatty just start to make up facts that don't really exist based on the information that you're providing to them. And so one of the true arts of generative AI applications in production is the ability to be able to plug some of these Swiss cheese gaps using your own data. And the best way that we know how to do that today is using an approach that many of you I'm sure have heard of called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. This allows you to specialize and personalize your models using data that the models haven't seen yet. And that data may be confidential information, it may be information that is fresh, that's been generated after the models have been trained, or it may be real-time data, flight data, weather data, things like that, that's just changing all the time. And as you start to build these systems, the ability to be able to bring this data into the models, such as they can reason across it and start to plug some of those Swiss cheese gaps, is one of the biggest difference makers in driving not just a useful application, but one which is consistent, coherent, and accurate. And so the best way that we know how to do that with retrieval augmentation is with the capability of Bedrock that we call knowledge bases. Knowledge bases are fully managed retrieval augmented generation capabilities that you can plug into any model inside Amazon Bedrock. So they allow you to securely connect foundation models and agents to data sources inside your organization. You can retrieve relevant data, and you can augment the prompts that are coming from different systems or different users. You can provide source attribution, which makes it easier to build trust through explainability. And all of this is delivered with a fully managed end-to-end RAG workflow. You don't have to worry about piecing this together. It all just works inside Bedrock. And this is an incredibly popular and critical part of virtually all successful, differentiated, and trusted Gen AI systems. And today, we're making knowledge bases even more powerful with a set of new, expanded data connectors for Amazon Bedrock. These allow you to leverage business data to customize models for very, very specific needs. We're adding the ability to not just pull in data from existing data sources and vector sources and S3, but be able to connect directly from Amazon Bedrock into all of the most popular data sources inside your organization. Data sources like Salesforce, Confluence, and SharePoint. You can also add a custom web source where you just provide a set of URLs. We'll go off, pull the information from those URLs, and make them available to the RAG system, perfect for real-time information. And where you're using high metadata and contextual information like PDFs or data as a table that you provided as CSV, we'll make sure we're providing all of the metadata, like the table headers, into the model as well, which drives up the accuracy and drives down the rate of hallucination inside your generative AI applications. So you can go much, much further with models plus RAG than you can with models alone. And it's not just models plus RAG. Most customers, I would say all customers, should be using Guardrails to improve the security and control of their generative AI applications. And the best way to do this in Bedrock is with a system that we have called Guardrails for Amazon Bedrock. And Guardrails sit in front of the prompt, between the prompt and the model, and between the model's response and the end user or the requesting application. And you can use those guardrails to define word filters and topic filters. So I have no idea why you'd want to do this, but say you never want to talk about basketball. You can say to Bedrock, hey, I never want to talk about or see the word basketball. And Bedrock will ensure that the word basketball never reaches the model. Or you can say, I don't want anything related to sports, which is a pretty broad topic. And the guardrail will kick in, and anything that looks like it's related to sports won't get through to the model. And in the event that the model accidentally generates something related to basketball or to sport, you can flag that to the developer and decide what you want to do with the results, ultimately deciding not to return it back to the user. We also have harmful content filters. We have filters for PII, and we have security checks, such as we can identify attempts for malicious prompts, such as prompt injection. And so one of the really great things that customers love about Guardrails is that they provide industry-leading safety protection on the top of these native capabilities of these foundation models. Guardrails on Amazon Bedrock has the best performing accuracy in intervening and identifying harmful information and other subjective information, with 85% reduction in harmful content versus protection provided by just the unmodified base foundation models. So this is a very significant leap forward in building safe, secure, responsible generative AI systems, which your users can interact with safely and build trust in over time. Now, today, we are announcing a major new capability and an entirely new type of category of check inside Guardrails. And we call these contextual grounding checks. This is a brand new safeguard which allows you to detect and block not harmful information or topics, but entire hallucinations across use cases such as RAG and summarization. So how does this work? Well, we basically take a look at the prompt provided by the user. We take a look at all of the information that's being pulled from knowledge bases, and then we take a look at the result. And we triangulate across those three areas to ask the question, is the result found in the source material? Is the content that came through the knowledge base, does it contain the answer? And if so, is that answer represented correctly in the output from the LLM? And is the answer related to the question that the person originally asked? And if you can perform those two things, you can significantly reduce the opportunity for hallucinations to be able to reach a user. So again, with Guardrails for Bedrock and these grounded checks, we're able to drive 75% of hallucinations filtered for RAG and summarization workloads. This has never been available before. I'm extremely excited to provide it to customers. In fact, customers love our guardrails so much that they've been asking, can we use these guardrails beyond Bedrock? Today, when you invoke a Bedrock model, the guardrails kick in automatically. They're tightly coupled to Bedrock. But customers want to be able to use the exact same capabilities in filtering and identifying hallucinations in models that are not hosted in Bedrock, in SageMaker models or models that are hosted in EC2. And so today, we're exposing that capability for the first time through a brand new Guardrails API, which allows you to safeguard applications built using foundation models that are available outside of Amazon Bedrock. And the use cases here are pretty broad. They allow you to apply standardized and consistent safeguards across different foundation models, regardless of the underlying infrastructure. And because they're decoupled from Bedrock and the models, you can evaluate user input and model responses independently for testing purposes and others. And so today, Bedrock is by far the best place to perform your retrieval augmented generation. It is a key component to building capable, cohesive applications. And with Guardrails, we make it safer to be able to operate these applications than ever before. Now, to tell us a little bit more about how they're making use of Amazon Bedrock to transform their organization, please welcome Vice President and CTO and CIO of NASDAQ, Brad Peterson.
So the cloud is the epicenter of innovation, and AI has the potential to power a new generation of growth faster and more powerful than any technology we've seen before. Today, I'd like to talk to you about what we're doing in terms of cloud, AI, and working with our partner, AWS, to move us forward. My name is Brad Peterson, EVP and CTO of NASDAQ. I've been leading technology at NASDAQ for over 11 years. And so I plan to talk to you about what we've done, the journey that we've gone on with cloud, and how we're well positioned to change the financial system. So what is at NASDAQ, our vision is to become the trusted fabric for the financial system. We started out as one of the original disruptors. So engineers had the vision, 6 engineers had the vision that you could build a fully electronic exchange, and we did that over 50 years ago. And we've evolved with our clients to become one of the leading technology and critical infrastructure providers by putting technology at the center of everything we do. It's in our DNA. It's why we're early adopters in the cloud, and it's why we're really well positioned to leverage AI. And you heard that data is at the center of this. So really understanding and having your data well positioned, and especially well positioned and structured in the cloud, is one of the best things that you can do. So let's talk about how we got started. And it was a few years after AWS launched. We offered this service called the Market Replay service, is where you could load in the events and the messages from the prior day's market session and really look at it and use it. And this is when a light bulb went on for us. The light bulb was, wow, this is the place, this is the future for where you're going to be able to manage massive amounts of data. This is where the innovation that's going to occur, which back in the day was probably called big data, but we've since moved on from that. But we could see this was a place that you wanted to really innovate. So we moved on from that, and we took all of our data that comes out of our markets. We used it for billing, we used it for market operations, and we started to build SaaS-based cloud products. And we got a question that said, would you ever consider, could you ever move one of your markets to the cloud? And if any of you were at reInvent in 2021, you would have heard us stand on stage and say, that yes, in 12 months, we're going to move one of our markets to the cloud. And we didn't just choose any market. We chose the most demanding, the US options markets, or our equity derivatives markets, the most demanding, the most active, and the most competitive. So we chose to move that, and 11 months later, in partnership with Amazon, we developed a new platform and we launched our Mercury exchange. We've continued to launch exchanges, and this resulted in what is really a high-performance edge compute cloud for capital markets. It's just across the river in New Jersey. Well, what it's done is this has ushered in a new trend you can see that really the cloud regions are being extended to the edge, and they need to be extended for many industries. Manufacturing, you need to have processing, low latency, performance extended into your factories. You can see that any type of modern concert or sporting venue has to have edge compute close. A lot of the work that AWS has done with the NFL and the PGA. Those are examples of this extension out there. So we believe this is something that is going to continue, as well as you have sovereign data rights and things like that. The growth around the world is only going to need this edge compute innovation. So that brings us to today. And today you heard so much about what's going on out there. So where do you get started? Everything you've just heard, where do you get started with AI? And so we wanted to talk about how we think about this. We think about it two ways. First is in the product. So you want to look at your products and say, how do I, and especially with the advent of Gen AI capabilities, how do you bring that into your products to improve them for your customers? So what I'm going to talk about today are all the things we're doing and we've already launched. So these are all launched. We've got press releases about them. That we have many things I'm not going to talk about today, but one of them is a surveillance product that we use ourselves and our customers use, and this is really to root out market abuse. And so you can imagine that once you find something that needs to be investigated, there's a whole lot of workflow around that. So we've seen Gen AI that has been able to give us a lift of about 33%. So we think this is going to be a big lift for our customers with this product. We also have launched something called Dynamic Mellow, and it stands for Midpoint Extended Life Order. So that's a mouthful. But what it really means is it's the first SEC AI order type that's been approved. And what it does is it's using SageMaker, so it's in a parallel infrastructure. A lot of AI is a parallel infrastructure, which is great. You're not replacing your old infrastructure, you're building parallel infrastructure. And it's calculating for every stock, every 30 seconds, 140 different attributes, and then introducing dynamic changes to improve our market quality. So think about that. You couldn't have a set of analysts. This is going on 8 million times a day. You couldn't physically do this. So these capabilities, think about the products and where can you introduce things that you couldn't do before, or where can you do things that you introduce that improve the operations for your customers. So the other one I want to talk about, and I think we have some colleagues here, we bought a company, Verafin, that's in the anti-financial crime space 3.5 years ago, fully SaaS, cloud-based, and they built a data consortium. It's okay for banks to pool their data to fight crime. Regulations allow that. So they're already using AI to find these instances of fraud, but they really didn't have anything that could move the needle on the workflow of documenting and dispositioning all of these incidents. So a new service we've announced is the Entity Research Copilot. Is showing amazing productivity improvements, and this is for customers. So our customers have hundreds of people that use this, that have to work in fighting crime. So it's a great benefit for our customers. The second thing is we think about on the business. So every every part of a company can be improved by Gen AI. So there's no doubt. The question is, where do you start? And what I would say is, look at the most important function you have, or the most important two functions you have, and start there. If you're a consumer company, think about AT&T or Verizon. Customer service. They have a great opportunity to improve the customer service quality they deliver, as well as automating a huge chunk of it. So that would be an example if you're more consumer-oriented. For us, as a technology company, it's in the engineering space. And here we see the opportunity to continue to stay up with all of the different things we have to do for security, modifications, modernization of our product. And what we're finding also is just the developer experience. When you give developer a new tool up with AI, Gen AI, code-based tools, developers don't want to give it back. It improves their life. There's a lot of mundane things they do. So we see that. And so what I would want to leave you with is this is a once-in-a-lifetime accelerator for business. And whether you're working in your product areas or if you're working in a business function or both, challenge yourself, and I encourage you to find a way to improve your company with this incredible capability that we're all gifted with. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. So exciting to see the work that NASDAQ is doing with Bedrock and generative AI. Now, one of the areas I'm really excited about in generative AI is the ability to be able to take action with agents. Not just adding information from RAG, not just controlling the output using guardrails, but enabling the models themselves to be able to problem solve, seek objectives, and take action using systems that we call agents. Now, agents don't just involve chatting to the assistant. The agents actually allow you to set an objective. And the AI system itself will evaluate that objective, understand what it is you're trying to achieve, and build a to-do list, build a plan that it will follow and able to complete that objective. And over time, it's an idea that has really started to take shape and has really started to take flight. A really good example of this is a startup called NinjaTech. They're doing amazing work with agents on AWS. NinjaTech offers a multi-agent system. They have different researchers for different tasks that you may want to interact with. So they have a researcher, they have a scheduler, they have a coding assistant, and these agents all interact with one another through an advisor. And through the power of these agents that can not only understand what you're trying to achieve, but actually go off and complete research or schedule on your behalf, write code, they've been able to grow this service to 400,000 monthly active users in 1 month since launch. It's one of my favorite ways to use and interact with generative AI. And in addition to all of that, NinjaTech are running 100% on 0 GPUs. They run on Trainium and they run on Inferentia. And as a result of that, they've been able to achieve an 80% cost reduction. And that's allowed them to grow their customer base much more aggressively, and as a startup, allow their dollars to go much, much further. So it's a really remarkable success story of the power of agentic systems coupled with the infrastructure underneath the hood. So by far the best way to build and run agents on AWS is to use Amazon Bedrock agents. And Amazon Bedrock contains everything that you need to build these sophisticated agentic systems that are able to execute multi-step tasks across your existing company systems. They automatically create prompts on your behalf, understanding the intent of the objective. They are natively plugged into and integrate with the knowledge bases that we just talked about, so you can add your existing RAG sources into agentic systems. They will automatically orchestrate multi-step tasks. And because Bedrock also includes traces, you get full explainability of every step and every decision that the agentic system is taking as it moves down its path to complete its task. And so these agents are building a huge amount of traction. But today's agents have a relatively short event horizon. They can plan maybe 5 to 6 to maybe 10 steps down the line, but they can quickly get stuck because each individual step has to happen in isolation, and every new step requires a fresh start. That means that the model doesn't learn as it goes, or it has to keep relearning the same lessons over time, which shortens its event horizon and sometimes means that they can get stuck in loops. And this limits the usefulness of agents for completing tasks that aren't just 5 or 10 steps long, but are 50 to 100 steps long. And that's really where the advantages is as we drive more automation into our products and processes. So I'm excited today that we are overcoming this limitation by adding a major new feature to agents in Amazon Bedrock that we call memory retention. And this new capability for agents in Amazon Bedrock allows you the agents to remember and learn from interactions over time. This allows you to build better agents, which are completing more sophisticated tasks. Those tasks are longer running. As a result, they're able to complete more strategic tasks, and they're a lot more capable because they're able to cover a lot more steps. They're also more adaptable because they're able to learn over time as the context from their previous steps follows through with this new memory retention system, and they're more personalizable for the person that they're completing the task for. Now, one of the most valuable multi-step tasks is the numerical tasks of analytics. And one of the most common questions that customers often have for agents is, can we help agents perform not just tasks which interact and actuate with third-party systems, but actually help drive strategic analysis inside my organization? Now, LLMs are great at working with text. However, they're not so great operating on numbers. They can do a pretty good job of understanding numbers in a table and those sorts of things, but you're not going to use an LLM, most likely, in order to be able to complete something more sophisticated like a regression analysis. What they're really good at is working with words and generating code. And code is one of the best and most efficient ways of performing analysis. And so instead of using an LLM to try and guess a probabilistic answer to your analysis using the LLM's native knowledge of words and numbers, instead, we can flip this whole equation on its head, leaning into the LLM's capabilities of writing code and understanding intent, and being able to use that code itself to be able to perform the analysis. And in order to do this, we're announcing a new feature for agents that we call code interpretation. This is a new capability for agents on Amazon Bedrock that allows you to generate and execute code automatically, analyze data using that code, which runs inside a sandbox, and generate graphs, which the agent can then use to either explain what it's doing or to be able to work more clearly and more concisely over very, very large data sets. And when combined with memory retention and code interpretation, you've got one hell of an agentic system. Agentic systems built with Bedrock are going to be the foundation of the single largest shift in productivity inside our applications, and agents are most likely to be the apps of generative AI. In the same way as an increasing new app makes the device in your pocket more useful, so adding a new agent to your agentic system or your AI system is going to make that whole system more capable over time. So we're incredibly excited to see what people will build with the new capabilities for Amazon Bedrock. Now, the next trend that we're seeing is that customers are using artificial intelligence to be able to turbocharge the transformation inside their organization. And we've seen some of this before. Way back in the midst of time, when we were looking across the teams inside Amazon, we noticed that a lot of those teams, when they were trying to build out the business inside Amazon, were having to keep hitting their heads against the same kind of undifferentiated heavy lifting of finding servers and storage and building applications. And it meant that a big proportion of those teams' time was spent on this sort of undifferentiated muck associated with provisioning those servers and procuring them and managing them and so on and so forth. And it was this observation which led us to start to find ways to remove that undifferentiated heavy lifting for infrastructure. And it was that led us to the inspiration to create AWS, and of course, what brings all of you here today. But removing that undifferentiated heavy lifting from infrastructure has been so successful for companies in not just driving down costs, but in driving up their agility and in driving the innovative power of their own people, that those groups are now able to innovate and invent on behalf of their own customers and use that 70% of time that was wasted to turn that into time which is now spent transforming their organizations and transforming the experience for their customers. And so we asked, when we saw the advent of generative AI and the growth of capabilities, can we do the same thing as we did for infrastructure in identifying this undifferentiated muck and start to apply that to other areas of the business? And we could start to remove it in the same way as remove the undifferentiated heavy work of infrastructure, and with a hope that by removing that muck inside different parts of the business, we'll be able to unleash that same creative power to be able to invent and reinvent on behalf of your own customers. Turbocharging delivery, driving up innovation, and driving down costs. And it was this that was the inspiration that led us to create Amazon Q, which is the most capable generative AI-powered assistant for software development and leveraging your own internal data. Amazon Q is the easy button for generative AI. It allows you to start to take information from anywhere inside your organization and start to harness it, such as you can start to remove all of that muck, all the 70% of that undifferentiated heavy lifting associated with all these different tasks inside your organization. And it has been remarkable to see the reception since we announced Q. And it's been remarkable to see the uptick since we made it generally available just a few months ago. And Q has a couple of different flavors. It has two main pieces. First, it's an assistant which is designed to help software developers build. Now, software development has quite a bit of muck in it today across the software development lifecycle. There's a lot of planning and designing. You have to write a bunch of code. You have to do the testing. You have to deploy. You have to maintain. Yick. Q's developer tools span this entire workload. And what we're systematically doing is finding these areas of undifferentiated heavy lifting inside that lifecycle and trying to automate as much of it so you can unleash that creative power, reuse that time from spending it on just undifferentiated muck to real inventive work that reinvents your customer experience. And we have seen some really impressive work and impressive uses of Amazon Q with software development. Q obviously generates recommendations of the type of code that you may want to apply to your application. So you can type in a comment, and Q will recommend the type of code in order to be able to fulfill that comment. And Q has the highest reported code acceptance rates across the industry for assistants that perform these multi-line code suggestions. It means that customers and developers spend more time accepting those changes and putting them directly into their repositories than they do editing them or writing them by hand. And in addition to that, Q allows you to shift left on your security requirements, because we also supply security scanning, not just to the code that Q generates, but all of the code inside your organization. And this allows you to outperform the leading public benchmark tools on detection of security problems across the most popular languages. And we've built agents directly into Amazon Q for software developers, which take the ability to be able to take the intent of the developer, not just generate the code, but put forward a whole strategy of how to implement a new feature, taking into account what code needs to be written, what code needs to be modified, what new tests need to be written, what code needs to be updated, documentation, and so on and so forth. And Q will give you the full strategy that it will operate against its to-do list, and you can run through it and review it, and then just set it on its way. And 5-10 minutes later, Q will come back with all of those tasks completed. And you'll be able to review all of the different code checks on all the different changes and commit them back to your repository if you want. We also support code transformation, so you can move between different versions of Java really, really quickly and really easily. So picture a world in the future where developers aren't just asking for fragments of code and getting back suggestions, but they are orchestrating dozens or hundreds of these different agents under the hood. And they're all running off on behalf of individual developers, adding new features, performing transformations, and more. It's an incredibly exciting time. I think we are right on the verge, and many organizations are already starting to see the return on an entirely new way to build software. So to show us more about these remarkable capabilities from Amazon Q's developer agents and see them in action, please welcome our Senior Developer Advocate at AWS, Brooke Jameson.
Let's look at how you can use Amazon Q developer agents to help you better understand your application. We're going to be working with an application consisting of two files, recipes and ingredients. These files give me the basic structure for managing recipes, creating and storing recipes, as well as managing the ingredients that go into these recipes. Since I'm new to the code, I can use the Q developer agent to help me better understand what the code does. Q developer agent analyzes the code and provides a thorough explanation of how the application works. Next, you'll notice that the previous developer left some placeholder functions in the ingredients file. Instead of manually implementing these, I can use Q developer agent to write the code for me. Let's see it in action. To do this, I right-click inside the code window to bring the Amazon Q context menu and then select the Fix option in Q Developer Agent to fix the highlighted code. Q Developer Agent analyzes the code and comes up with the appropriate implementation. We can quickly review the newly generated code, and if we're happy with the suggestion, we can add it to our file with one click. Next, let's take our application a step further. Instead of storing recipes in a text file, I want to use Amazon DynamoDB, which is a database service from AWS. I'll use the /dev command in the chat window to ask Amazon Q to store and retrieve recipes in DynamoDB. QDev agent will generate a detailed plan for transitioning our application to use DynamoDB. The plan outlines the steps to set up the DynamoDB table, update our code to work with the database, create helper modules, and add test cases to ensure it all functions properly. One of my favorite things about Q Developer is the ability to provide feedback and refine the implementation plan before moving forward. In this case, I want to make some adjustments to optimize the database structure in DynamoDB, include an index for searching by ingredient, and introduce functionality to back up our recipe data to Amazon S3. Amazon Q has now generated an updated plan that incorporates my requested changes, including the data backups to S3. I'm happy with this modified plan, so let's have Amazon Q generate the code based on this plan. I can quickly review the generated code in the diff window, and once I've verified that everything is right, I can add all the code changes to my application by using the Insert Code button. Amazon Q Developer Agent streamlines software development by understanding our code and providing high-quality, contextualized code suggestions from simple recipe apps to complex enterprise solutions. Thanks, everyone, and now back to Matt.
Thanks, Brooke. And we're really thrilled to see how customers are using Q to turbocharge their transformation through software. One really great example is the BT Group over in the UK that were able to accept 37% of Q's code suggestions. This is the highest that we have seen published anywhere, and merged over 200,000 lines of code into production. That is such a huge boost to your software developers. It's really remarkable. But when we talk to developers about Q, we often ask them, well, what's your wish list? If you could sit down and start with a blank piece of paper, what would you want Q to be able to do that it couldn't do today? And the biggest feedback is that whilst Q is fantastic today at generating AWS code and generic functions and documentation and testing and those sorts of things, most developers spend most of their time not just on generic code, but on coding against their own internal systems and APIs, against coding styles that are mandated across the organization so that everyone can read and write everybody else's code. And so this is on the developer wish list, the ability to be able to generate personalized coding styles and understand private documentation that isn't available on the AWS website, as an example. And also for Q to have a mastery of their internal software packages and other APIs. And we are checking all of these off today with the announcement of Q Developer Customization. Customized suggestions which are tailored to developers' needs based on internal code and best practices. And a chat system that is aware of those internal code bases and how it works. That means that not only do you get better code suggestions, but you also are able to interact and brainstorm with Q and have Q know and have that information grounded on all of the private APIs inside your organization. So Q can generate suggestions that are specific to your developers' needs because it includes your internal APIs, libraries, best practices, and all of your architectural patterns. Developers can save hours that they used to have to spend searching and modifying sometimes charitably sparsely documented code, and now they're able to jump into a code base or a project, and they can onboard much, much faster. And providing these customized recommendations, Q can assist with software development in ways that conform to your team's internal libraries, proprietary algorithmic techniques, and your enterprise coding style. And the speed boost is really remarkable. We gave code customization to a customer, NAB, which is a huge bank in Australia, and they were able to use code recommendations as a key reason why they've been banking on and using Q extensively. With customizations, they were able to more effectively onboard new engineers and help devs ramp up much more quickly on new code bases. And their acceptance rate jumped to 50%. And more than 40% of developers that they surveyed saw improvements in productivity. And as a result, they have more than doubled the number of employees that are using Q for these development tasks from 450 to over 1,000 in just a couple of months. So the opportunity to boost your developers' productivities is massive using Amazon Q and these new data customization techniques. Now, the flip side of Q, the other side of the coin, is that Q can answer questions, provide summaries, generate content, and securely complete tasks based on data and information in your enterprise systems. It empowers employees to be more creative, data-driven, efficient, prepared, and productive. So with Q, you can deliver quick, accurate, and relevant answers to your business questions securely and privately. Q will connect to over 40 different data sources, some of the ones that you would expect, like S3 and Salesforce, maybe a few that you might not expect from us, Google Drive, Microsoft 365, and a range of different partners like ServiceNow, Slack, Atlassian, and Zendesk. And Q respects existing access controls, and it only returns information if you're authorized to see it based on your role. If you can't access the data outside of Q, you can't access it inside of Q. And one of the unique capabilities that Q offers that customers absolutely love is called Q apps, or what we lovingly call internally QApps. Now, Q apps are a form of personalized software that allow you to very quickly and easily build simple tools which you can use for yourself or for your team that are lightweight and streamline repetitive tasks that you have to do every single day. And you can create these just by asking Q for the type of application that you want. We have an app creator, and Q will listen to your prompt, and it'll go off and it'll create a web form that you can fill in online that matches the intent of the application that you're looking for. And then if you want, you can publish these inside the Amazon Q Apps library. Although what we found is, for the first time with generative AI, it's actually quicker and easier to be able to just build the application that you want than it is to be able to search for an application that somebody else built, and then learn how to use it. Now, we published this into preview just a few months ago, and today we're taking it a step further by making Q apps generally available, allowing you to build lightweight applications in your own words. So you can use Amazon Q to turn conversations into reusable, shareable apps. Q will automatically identify the type of repetitive tasks that you're doing and recommend apps proactively to you. You can leverage all the enterprise data that is connected to Q through all those 40-plus connectors. And Q apps inherits all the Amazon Q security, governance, user authentication, and access controls. And at GA, we're adding the ability to be able to integrate with apps with other first and third-party systems by exposing the apps as an API. This allows you to take applications that you've built and integrate them into other applications and other processes internally as you would any other API, and to be able to embed them inside software that you might want to run for yourself or for other people. So this is a new capability for an incredibly exciting application. And through all of these capabilities, Q is showing that to so many organizations, it can transform their work. And to hear a little bit more about how they're doing that at Bayer, I'd love to introduce the VP and Head of Crop Science Data Assets and Analytics, Will McQueen.
Food scarcity is a challenge for the future of our planet. The world's population is increasing at a rapid rate. To meet the growing demand, collectively we'll need to produce 50% more food, feed, and biofuel. As we increase production, we must do it with an eye on sustainability. To that end, how do we meet the growing demand for crop production while still being good stewards of the planet? It's not enough to have a net zero impact. We need to have a positive impact. The crop science division at Bayer is part of the overall mission of Bayer as a leading life sciences company. Bayer's crop science division is the world-leading agricultural enterprise. We have businesses in crop protection, seeds and traits, and digital farming. All of these businesses must come together to deliver on our strategy. First, we need to scale regenerative agriculture. That means focusing on a zero-carbon future, reducing our environmental impact, enabling smallholder farming, and improving water usage as we produce our products. Second, we need to drive excellence in everything that we do. That means we need to create a space to accelerate our people and make them as effective as possible. Third, we must enable that vision by delivering world-class innovation. We have been and will continue to be market leaders in key technologies that provide our competitive advantage. Digital solutions are at the foundation of all three components of Bayer's crop science strategy. Bayer is no stranger to embracing digital, adoption of cloud capabilities, and prioritizing a strong focus on modern technical platforms, including data and analytics. We have been developing solutions in AWS since 2014, including our first data science technical platform in AWS 9 years ago. But a lot has changed since then, and what's gotten us to where we are today won't get us to where we need to be in the future. We started our journey with a collection of tools and capabilities. Data science was a competitive advantage that we embraced early on, and we took steps to enable it across our business. Over time, the scope, scale, and complexity of the problems that we needed to solve continued to grow. And as the scope and scale increased, it's not enough to solve them independently across our business. We need to accelerate. We need to surface our data science capabilities in a way that both promotes and enables reuse. And within the last year, our focus is moving rapidly toward leveraging Gen AI to take us into the future. As anyone in the audience who has built, maintained, run, and lifecycle managed technical platforms knows, it can be difficult to make the decision to embark on a journey to start fresh. A year and a half ago, we decided that we were at that point. When evaluating where to place our bets, we needed a partner and a technology platform that would be instrumental in powering innovation and market-leading solutions for the next 10 years. We determined that AWS was where we wanted to place our bet for our next generation data science platform. In the last year, we have made great progress toward where we need to be to accelerate our ability to bring data science solutions to market. Our next generation data science platform, the decision science ecosystem, is emerging to support the full life cycle of model development, deployment, production, monitoring and orchestration, all the way to decision capture. At the center of the data science experience is Amazon SageMaker, which allows our data scientists to have a fully managed service to build, train, and deploy models for any use case. SageMaker reduces the barrier to entry for our data science community and allows for a paved path from discovery to production with limited engineering support. One of the lessons that we've learned over the last 10 years is that we want to write less code. We want to focus our time and investment on only the things that provide differentiated value to Bayer, and we want to leverage everything that we can that AWS provides out of the box. Part of our goal is reducing the development cycles required to transition a model from proof of concept to production and ultimately business adoption, which is where the real value is. One of our best examples of a data science use case is our imagery analytics pipeline. As Bayer develops new products, we need to evaluate their performance as we design only the very best products to bring to market. This is a massively scaled farming operation that requires digital solutions to be effective. Every year, we are collecting more data, developing new and novel measurements, all while relying less on people and more on data and models. But we're not only focused on delivering data science-enabled capability for our internal operations. The data that we generate internally also powers solutions that we bring to our customers via our FieldView platform, with capabilities like field-specific seed prescriptions for farmers. Of course, now we're at the forefront of another era with the advent of generative AI. And we are exploring many different ways that Gen AI can accelerate Bayer even faster. When we think about how we leverage Gen AI in our data science platform, we're thinking about it from two perspectives. First, what are Gen AI-powered capabilities that we can deliver to our platform customers? Second, how could we make platform builders more effective and more productive? Amazon Q is accelerating our progress building our platform. It's increasing the quality of documentation, and early experiments show that it's reducing the time required to onboard a new developer by up to 70%. In addition, it's also showing promise to increase developer productivity by up to 30% by replacing manual work with automation. Similarly, Gen AI capabilities powered by Bedrock directly in our data science platform is showing the opportunity to reduce the support burden of complex, highly orchestrated analytics workloads. When something fails, Bedrock is showing promise in helping diagnose with less engineering support than previously required. We are also exploring the ability to enable data scientists to provision pre-configured model development and deployment environments, which will put us on a path to realize the level of platform adoption that we need to be successful. We have made a lot of progress delivering innovative solutions for the agricultural industry, but our work is not done. To achieve our goals and to support the growing demand for agricultural products, we will continue to invest in innovation and digital solutions. Bayer will continue to strive to produce more while using fewer resources. Building solutions in partnership with AWS is a key component of our strategy. Our vision is health for all and hunger for none, and we will strive to make that vision a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Super exciting to see the work Bayer is doing with generative AI across Q and beyond. So there is one last thing that I wanted to talk about today, and it's how generative AI can help automate internal processes and activities that employees manage daily to keep their organizations running. Now, some of these challenges move way beyond the jobs to be done category into a class that I'd call business systems. Systems that don't just perform one particular task, but an ongoing operational engine for the business. Whether it's hospital procurement, or you're doing work with account executives inside advertising businesses, or you have work with property managers looking at how to manage their housing inventory and repairs and the need for rentals, the list goes on and on. Now, these processes are time-consuming, and often today they are managed through docs and spreadsheets. So many docs and spreadsheets. And these are really error-prone, they are difficult to maintain, they are insecure, they are tough to scale across multiple uses, and even though there's an opportunity to automate some of these, there's quite a high investment required for software developers to come in and build applications. Now, sometimes customers overcome that by turning to low-code and no-code capabilities, being able to try and create these applications. But sometimes those low-code, no-code services sit outside of the operational domain and the perimeter that central IT want to maintain. And we took a hard look at this, and we started to ask the question, instead of having to build these shadow IT systems or manage with a set of documents and spreadsheets, could we turn this whole thing on its head and instead replace all of that with a single prompt? For example, the ability to be able to create an app for tracking inventory across stores. And so today, for the first time, I'm excited to announce an entirely new service from AWS that we call AWS App Studio, which is the fastest and easiest way to build applications. Now, AWS App Studio is a generative AI-powered, low-code application building service that makes it easy for technical professionals without software development skills like IT project managers, data engineers, and enterprise architects to build secure applications that solve business problems in as little as a few minutes. You can build applications in minutes with a generative AI-powered low-code service. You can deploy highly scalable applications that were built according to AWS best practices and are fully managed by AWS. And it also gives central IT visibility into which applications are created and provides the ability to be able to set security guardrails to safely manage user and data access. It's free to build an application, and you only pay for what you use, and you're able to save up to 80% compared to comparable offerings. So let's see what it's like to build an app with App Studio using an expense approval scenario in just 3 simple steps. In App Studio, we can use natural language to describe what the application should do, what kind of data it should handle, and any actions it needs to perform. In this example, we'll ask an application that manages employee expenses and enables managers and the finance team to review them for approval. Every time the expense status changes, the system will use Slack to send a notification. So we can create an app with a prompt. App Studio uses our prompt to come up with an overview that explains what assets it will create, including the data objects and the user interface elements. And we can iterate over the implementation plan to provide further instructions. And once we're happy with the proposed plan, we can just click the Generate App button, which will execute the plan and create our application. Step 2 is editing your app. You can preview your application along with the sample data created by App Studio before switching to the Visual Builder, where we can edit the user interface, the data objects, and the automation actions that define how the application should look and behave. Adding new elements and building new pages is as easy as dragging and dropping components to the desired location on our pages. And all of these changes are automatically applied to your work in progress app without ever having to leave App Studio. And you can preview those apps at any time. Now, we want our application to notify users when an expense status changes. App Studio integrates seamlessly with AWS and third-party services using connectors. So we can drag and drop the Slack action to the existing automation workflow, so every time someone approves or denies an expense, it will notify everybody involved. And with all the UI and configuration changes in place, I can now deploy my application to the test environment so my team can test it before pushing it to production and making it available to everyone. App Studio makes it extremely easy to publish and share applications, and new versions published every time the app is updated, making it really easy to roll back if you have any issues. And that's it. My app is live internally, secure, scalable, shareable, and ready to use. Expenses are filed, notifications are sent, and we're good to go. So that's the AWS App Studio. And I'm extremely excited to see how it enables builders to be able to move more quickly on AWS. Now, we've added a lot of powerful features and capabilities today. I've covered just 9 of them here. But we're going to keep the party moving across the rest of the day. And we've got additional launches happening online and throughout breakout sessions across the day, where we're expanding even more capabilities with prompt management in Bedrock, the ability to be able to build sophisticated applications with prompt flows, and we're announcing major new partnerships with generative AI leaders like Scale AI, where you can start to integrate with all of the Scale AI capabilities to fine-tune and customize your models directly from within Amazon Bedrock. It's an incredibly exciting time, and I can't wait to see what you all build with this incredibly exciting technology. With that, I thank you for joining us, and I wish for you to prompt happy. Thank you.